Hey guys, I want to talk about how I got ill, and you can call it illness, you can call it crazy, insane, manic, doesn't matter. I was unwell, and I want to talk about how I mentally got unwell and the road to get ill, if you want. And just a little bit of context in summer. Oh, my camera's got weird. In summer 2018, of I graduated from University of Birmingham with a first in computer system engineering. It was a moment of clarity, should I say, or like possibilities. I think it's better. And wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I managed to land a job in Cambridge in a small startup. And within that small startup, I started my life there. And I actually had two offers, one in Oxford, one in Cambridge. And the reason I chose Cambridge was actually my partner at the time was doing a master's in Cambridge, so it made logical sense to want to be together. So in August 2018, I moved to Cambridge, lived with my partner, and started my new life where I got a job as a software engineer. And I still remember the first day I went there where they asked me to build my desk. I was going, oh no, I've got a program, I've got to do all the stuff that I don't know how to do. And they were like, yeah, can you make a desk? I was like, I can. And I spent the whole day trying to get my computer working, trying to get my desk working, chair, and all that stuff fixed up. And I still have very good memories of my first day. And after my first day at my job, I started to get good, and that's what happens when you get exposure to something every single day. You do get good just by pure input. And as long as you can ask questions, as long as you are willing and want to learn, yeah, the world can be anything you put your attention on. And in that time, I was very intensely focused in my studies. Around August, me and my partner had some unsurprising news. Literally the same time she was about to graduate from her master's, she found out that she was pregnant. Now, I wouldn't say I'm an expert in the pregnancy. Obviously, we know how it happened. But I didn't know what I wanted to prioritize. It was the first time where I was given such a news, and I didn't know. A part of me was overjoyed to hear this news. Another part of me was worried, and another, just mixture of a lot of emotions, which I'm sure other males in this chat could, resonate. And I think it boiled down to two primary goals: the need and want to be a family, and the second one was the needs and wants to protect the love of my life at the time. And then my partner at the time was terrified. She just landed her first job. She just graduated from Cambridge and she worked really hard. And we're about to go to a graduation ceremony the week after. And then literally the week before, we get this news that she's pregnant. And I remember doing the pregnancy test and buying the pregnancy test so she can do it. It was positive. I was like, okay, she's positive. What next? What do you want to do? Yet she had this delusional idea, and I think is very logical, where she was like, it can't be true. She was actually in denial. My perspective at the time was, and before like we talked about it, we were like, yeah, we'll get an abortion, we're not ready, we're not blah blah blah. But actually, once I found out that she was pregnant and this was someone that I wanted to spend the rest of my life, I didn't propose to her, but like, yeah, this was it. I was like, what do you want to do? And I did the classic thing that I always do, is look at my rights, look at my laws, and actually I found out it's not my choice. It's not my choice to do anything. So actually, for the first time in my life, I decided to keep my mouth shut. And That's because it is up to the woman to choose if they want to have the child. It's up to the woman to choose what she wants to do with the baby. It's her body, and that's completely fair and completely right. So I saw these rights, and I saw my partner, who was absolutely terrified, and actually we had to go to the GP, and within that GP we had to do another test, and the test confirmed it again of what I already knew, but what she was not willing to admit. And I remember her shock and her face, where essentially she felt like her life was falling apart when we just started building it. And I remember going, okay, I wanna help her. And it wasn't even a conversation of what I want. Maybe I have that right if we're married, maybe I have that right, but no, it was to support the person I care and love about, and not what I need or what I care for. And so she wanted to get an abortion, which makes complete sense in the sense of a position that internally I was a bit like, I think combined together our finances were 80k in the household, which is already above UK, and that was our starting graduate salary. We were in a very fortunate position where we could make this work if we wanted to, if the drive and energy and focus was there. Now, I was 23 years old at the time, and would I have been able to take the responsibility of being a father? Naively, maybe, but I didn't know what I don't know, and I still don't know a lot of things. And I'm blessed in a way that I don't have to think about that right now, but I didn't navigate that space very healthily. And then essentially, and if anyone had to go through this story where they had to support their partner going through an abortion, yes, it's not pretty. It's a lot of mental and physical strain on the partner, and I did my best to just be there. And I still to this day do not regret not having a child or anything like that. I wanted to protect my partner, and she made it very clear that she didn't want the baby, so that's completely fine. But notice how many times I said the word fine. And if anyone asked me, anyone that knew the context of the situation, I told my work, they were very supportive and all that stuff, I would just say I'm fine. And one thing I do now that I did not know later was I like to ban the word fine. In Britain, they go, "Oh, how are you?" They're like, "Oh, yeah, fine." Yeah. I like to use bipolar words, or spoilers alert. But yeah, I don't like the word fine or okay. Describe to me what you're doing, because your fine and my fine is complete two separate worlds. And during that time, actually navigating that space was very hard, and essentially I lost a child without even knowing. And navigating that emotion was very unfamiliar to me. So in my case, I actually just focused on work. For some reason, at the time, I decided to not talk to my support network being my gaming friends where I go online. I thought this was a bit private and confidential. And actually at the time, I was like, I just want to focus on work because it's the good, productive, healthy thing to do. Whereas actually, with hindsight, gaming might have been a more healthier distractibility, where instead I just decided to focus on work. And I remember I just, I wake up, go to work, do work, and I might watch one or two YouTube videos and I'll fall asleep. And that was just my life. And it's so obvious now looking back with hindsight, but actually weekend comes, I don't have to work. I sort of lost my purpose, my drive to do anything. And I started losing interest in things I like to do, such as, it could be as simple as watching a movie. It could be as simple as picking up a book. And I just wanted to stay in bed and just wait till it's Monday so that I could work. And I didn't know this at the time. However, if I, had a Fitbit, like I do now, you will see my sleep actually getting decreased. So it was coming from, let's just say a healthy person sleep 8 hours a day. Every week I was losing 10 minutes. Yeah. And this started from like November till like May. And everything was fine. I thought I didn't need more sleep. I would sleep only 6 hours or sometimes 5 hours and I will feel great. I could just go to work and I feel tons of energy, and it was really good navigating space. And actually, these were actually sort of some signs that I was actually getting depressed. And there was lots of causes and could be lots of things, but the warning signs were there. I just didn't know that I needed to be paying attention to these metrics. Metrics being such as sleep, losing interest in things I like to do, focusing and prioritization only work being in this case, great for work, up my metrics and work salary, well, yeah, but what about my hobbies? What about the things I actually like doing? And it's quite intoxicating when you first start a job. You get paid for something, in my case, what I studied for, and I was getting good at it. It was a continuous feedback. I was getting feedback and I just kept wanting to improve. Because I was in a startup, I was doing some very valuable, high intensity work and I absolutely enjoyed doing it. It was the problem that I had when I didn't want to go back home. And, I should have been a better partner, where actually not only was I going through some shit, so was my partner. And, from my memories from back then, that foggy memory that I don't quite recollect, I still remember her doing the house chores where I just didn't feel like it. And I was just neglecting myself and neglecting my needs. So much so that one time we started fighting and I just said to her, like, I don't want to do this anymore. And in this case, it was the relationship. And then essentially I broke up from that relationship and I essentially toyed with her heart for the next few weeks. We had rental agreements that we had to oblige to. I was looking for Airbnb and, we were still in flux, but I knew that I just didn't want to be there. And with that, I then started, going on Hinge, going on, just dating other people around my network and just literally just fucking around. And maybe in some ways I thought I was free, maybe in some ways I haven't learned my lesson, I don't know what it was, but I felt such high energy with low sleep and euphoric. And I did not know at this time, but actually these are all very symptoms of hypomania. What is hypomania? I might need to look that up. I can't remember if it's hypo or hyper. But essentially the early stages of a manic episode. And even though at the time when everything got settled with the rental property, I actually didn't have a house. I was living in an Airbnb. I was going to work and that was my life. And sometimes I'll be flirting with girls and texting and all that kind of stuff. With this, I remember in around, so timescales wise, November was the abortion. The January of the following was with the breakup, and around April, I was like to my manager at the time, I wanna go home. I want a break. And he was like, she was like, oh, how long do you need? And I was like, oh, I would like to take the whole month. So the 30 or 25 or plus 30 work days, holidays you get in the UK, I can't remember if it's 25 or 30. But I was like, I'll take the whole month because it was like May bank holiday, you can be all savvy and blah, blah, blah. I was like, I'll take the whole month. They were like, why? And I was like, I want to go to Korea, it's far, it costs a lot, and I want to see my family. And to, great on them, they said yes. So, and the yes was the easiest yes of, it wasn't any hard hassle like I know some other jobs do. They were just like, yeah, we support you. And then with that, I took some time off and went to Korea. And In this case, I was already not losing sleep. I sort of lost all purpose or drive to do anything. And then I went to Korea, and a stress that not many people talk about is also jet lag, going to different time zones and going through this. And I can talk in detail about how I got into psychosis, and the things I did during psychosis. However, I like to just talk about, like, I was always fine, and there's always that tipping edge. For me, it was the jet lag, and then going home and then seeing my home essentially fall apart, where at the time my parents' relationship wasn't strong. My grandparents were getting frail. I had some pressures of, because I'm South Korean, of some military pressures of going to the army and not knowing what I want to do with my life. And I remember talking to my therapist at the time during my recovery. I had like 9 key stressors, and I can't remember them on the top of my head, but within those, I remember the number 9. And I remember saying, she was like, any one of these is enough to make someone take time off work. And she said I had 9, and I kept saying, yeah, but I'm fine. And during the time in Korea, this is now, I lost all foundation, essentially, where I really wanted to see my family, and I really needed to see them, but my parents were too busy with work or business for them to see me. There was no one there, and the house that I lived in Seoul was essentially empty and dark. And this is where I spent the next 5 days with very little to no sleep, and very limited food, and very limited water. And this is where my psychosis started to manifest to complete mania. I'd like to make a separate video of how and what it feels like to be insane, because I'm not gonna lie, it feels great. And if I be honest, if there was a drug that maybe allowed me to be that high without the consequences of what happens with mania, oh yeah, great. But that's like anything. I would love to have all the rewards without the risk. That's pretty 101. Yeah, I did skim over some details of the breaking down the logic between 101, but I did want to hone down some key components of going crazy. I don't like to use the word crazy. There's also a lot of stigma. I like to use the word crazy because it's simple. People do get it. You're crazy, and you don't have any control of your mind or body. However, the language shift that got me understanding my condition during my recovery was when I was with my nurse. I started to gain some insights of what I did and how I acted. And I was like, I was crazy. I was insane. Why the frick did I do all these things? And this is when my nurse just looked at me, and she realized that I was going through this mental hurdle of stress and going through the insight of all the actions and all the memories that I did something horrible. And she just said to me, Jin-tae, you are unwell. You can't blame yourself when you are unwell. And that language shift between crazy and unwell was so crazy, it felt like it was my fault. And you know what? During those decisions that I did and the logic, they all made sense. However, when the mental capacity to think breaks, how can you blame someone for doing that? And I was the most stingiest person of all. I blamed myself for everything I did. And here my nurse just changed the language between crazy to unwell. And I love to share you my recovery process and how I got better. But just key things to note to get crazy. Time zone, which is the obvious one. Losing interest in things you like doing, wanting to stay in bed, not enough sunlight, not wanting food and water, being in your own meditative thoughts, so no socializing as well. And couple that with 5 all-nighters, and you got a recipe for disaster, quite literally. I'm getting used to being camera. Yeah, trust me, it's so much easier to talk to someone about this when someone's in front. But yeah, just talking to myself is a bit odd, but I'm doing my best. I do want to share my mental health journey, and I'm very open to talk about it. Everyone from my old workplace knows I love talking about it. I did not fully understand at the time the emotions, the numbing feeling were all essentially symptoms leading to madness. And anyone listening to my story, I just mentioned in the perspective of my partner. That's like one of the stresses. There's also coupled that with the grief. That's two stresses. Right? Then I was homeless essentially. That's three stresses. Yeah, I telling this story, I've realized that my perspective of the world is it's not that bad. It's fine, and I ban myself from using that word, fine. If you've listened to this far, thank you. I'm pretty sure I can tell you the story a little bit better when there's engagement, but unfortunately I'm just talking to the camera. I look forward to showing my thought processes and of things I did when I was crazy. I look forward to telling my recovery and that it does get better. Yeah, it does. I can't, if you're going through mental health right now, and everything just feels shit, yeah, right, the ultimate end, yeah, that's ultimate shitness. Like if we die, yeah, that's gone. There's no options. But if we fight to live another day, there's options. We can do stuff. We can iterate. I'm gonna end the video here because I realized that for the last 5 minutes I've been waffling anyway. I think I'm just gonna upload this, and if I can make it better next time, I will. But for now, at least there's some frame of my view of how I got crazy. Cool. Thanks for watching, guys.